All right, gang. So I told you that I would have this out so that you can receive this lecture for today, which is Tuesday. You can watch it when at your leisure about audio and lighting. This is a short one. In fact, I'm not going to actually deliver it. I found some resources that I really trust, which is B&H Photo and Video, which is a and video production superstore in New York City where I buy most of the stuff that I use, or at least shop their website most often. And they have two 10-minute introductory notes on audio and one on lighting. And so I want you to watch that, and we'll discuss in the future. So I'll see you guys on Thursday with another pre-recorded lecture. All right? Watch. They come up immediately after I'm on, and please take notes. There will be some quizzing on the information shared here. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Hey guys, AB here from B&H, and we've decided to create a multi-part series that walks you through everything you need to know to get started recording audio for video. Whether you're on a film set with a dedicated sound mixer, or you're a videographer recording your own audio on the go, this series of videos should help you solve some of the problems you may encounter along the way. In this introductory video, I'm simply going over the basics, briefly covering everything from prepping your environment to laying out cables, which mics to use for specific scenarios, setting recording levels, and even adjusting those levels in post to get the most out of your recordings. Because some of the concepts in this video can be pretty involved, we will cover those in more detail in other dedicated videos in the series. That reminds me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you'll know when the next video in the series drops. When recording audio for video, one of the most important factors to consider, even before you hit record, is your environment. Naturally, if you're shooting outside, you can't always control the noises around you, which we'll address later. But when you're indoors, there are a few precautions you can take. 1. Make sure to turn off or unplug appliances like ACs or refrigerators to eliminate buzzing in the room. 2. Turn off all mobile phones to prevent ruining a take with ringing or interference. 3. Check the light fixtures. Certain types of bulbs, fluorescent for example, can make buzzing noises too. 4. Don't forget to close any open windows. Noise from outside can creep into a room unnoticed, and if you only hear it when you listen back after the shoot, it's definitely too late. Now that you have your environment the way you want it, it's time to address how you're going to record audio. Choosing which microphone will work best for you will greatly depend on what you're shooting. For example, if you're recording a sit-down interview, using an omnidirectional lavalier mic on your subject would provide the right type of pickup to ensure that you capture consistent sound. You could also use a cardioid lav mic, since it rejects off-axis sound. Alternatively, you could set up a shotgun mic on a boom pole pointed at your subject and get a nice clean sound. You could even use both lavs and shotguns and mix the two together in post, which would give you a little flexibility in terms of sound choice, not to mention a backup in the event there was a malfunction in one of the microphones. For narrative endeavors, an omnidirectional lav works great for mounting in numerous locations on someone, but a shotgun mic may be better to help pick up a little more ambience of your location. In other situations, an on-camera mini shotgun microphone may work best if you're in a run-and-gun situation where you have to be ready to record audio wherever you point the camera. I'm going to go more in depth into different types of microphones later in this series. So now that you've chosen your preferred microphone for your shoot, how do you decide whether or not you should go wireless or wired? Both types of systems offer advantages and disadvantages, so it's important to weigh your options before making a decision. Wired microphones are best suited for static situations, such as our sit-down interview here. When you go wired, you don't have to worry about interference or dropouts from other transmission sources, and having a direct cable connection ensures the highest possible quality. However, keep in mind that your subject's mic is now connected to your recorder, so that will put limitations on where and how far away the subject can be sitting from the recorder. One other thing to keep in mind is that when using wired microphones, you want to make sure that they aren't in contact with any kind of power cable, as that could introduce unwanted noise into your line. If you're on the go, a wireless setup is the obvious choice. No need to worry about pesky cables and being tethered to your subject or the audio recorder. However, depending on your location, you run the risk of picking up interference from other transmission sources, so make sure you're aware of your surroundings before going wireless. Also, if you're on a budget, wireless mics, especially good ones, tend to be more expensive than wired versions, so keep that in mind as well. Whichever mic you choose, make sure you have it positioned as close to the source as possible. You've chosen the mic and you're ready to plug it in. But what do you plug it into? You have to make sure you choose the right tool for the job, and the ideal choice is an external recorder to capture your audio. In terms of inputs, the dedicated recorder will usually have much cleaner and quieter preamps than those you would find on most cameras. But keep in mind that in this scenario, your audio will be separate from your video, so you'll need to sync the two in post. Also, many recorders have tone generation, which creates a tone that allows you to align audio later. If you don't have a model with this function, you can simply clap your hands once and use that cue to align the camera and recorder audio. Also, it's easier to adjust the gain on a recorder compared to the camera, and you tend to have more options for tools like limiters and compressors on external recorders. There are models of recorders that simply mount directly under a camera and are operated by the shooter, but most dedicated recorders require their own setup and in some cases, a separate operator. Alternatively, you can record audio directly into your camera depending on the connections your camera supports, including XLR inputs, 3.5mm, also known as 1/8" mini jack inputs, or a third-party device or adapter that can accommodate a variety of input options. If you choose to record audio directly to the camera, it gives you the convenience of monitoring sound while you monitor video. However, you run the risk of recording audio with more noise in it due to the lower quality of the camera preamps. Again, depending on the camera you're using. Higher-end cameras, such as cinema cameras or ENG cameras, will have cleaner inputs than your typical DSLR or mirrorless camera. Once you're all set up and your mic is plugged in, you have to set your record levels. We take a deeper dive into this topic in a later video, but right now let's cover the basics. When looking at your recorder or camera, you will see meters showing the audio level coming in from your microphone. That audio is measured in decibels, and the peak of that meter will read as 0 and count down into the negatives. When setting your levels for the first time, it's extremely important to never let the audio level hit 0. This will pretty much distort the signal. All levels should fall in the negative number range without coming too close to 0. You want to give yourself a comfortable amount of headroom in case your mic'd subject suddenly gets too loud. This means that if your subject is speaking at a consistent volume, then their level should fall somewhere between -12 and -8 dB, with -8 being the loudest your subject gets. This will ensure a proper recording without coming too close to distortion. Depending on your setup, it's always good practice to keep an eye on the levels when recording in case the subject gets louder or softer as the shoot goes on. Adjusting the gain, sometimes called trim, will allow you to make sure you're getting optimal audio throughout the entire shoot. In some cases, you could set audio to record to your camera at a slightly lower level and to a dedicated recorder at a higher level. This way, you will get two recordings at different levels in case you're not able to monitor and adjust those levels during the shoot. Just keep in mind that if you use two different types of devices to record, camera and dedicated recorder for example, the audio will not sound the same. Also, some recorders have a built-in feature that makes two recordings at once, with the second being at a slightly lower level to ensure it's recorded correctly. Because every device has its own unique sonic characteristic, it's often hard to try and match that sound across multiple devices. Okay, so your levels are set, the shot looks good, and now it's time to record, right? Wrong. A very important step that often gets overlooked is recording room tone. Room tone is simply the sound of the room you're filming your project in, and it's extremely important to record that room on a set while the room is as quiet as possible, before you record anything else. Why? Because later on in the edit, if you need filler sound to match the tone of the scene you're working on, you can simply pull some samples from the room tone you recorded beforehand. Otherwise, it can be nearly impossible to find audio that properly matches the project. If you forget to do it before the shoot, take some time afterwards to record room tone. Also, use the same microphone or microphones used to record dialogue to capture room tone. More on that and other post topics in the following videos. One last tip before you record is to take time to put on your headphones and listen for any unwanted sounds that you might not hear with just your ears. At this point, you're ready to record, but there are some additional tools you may have at your disposal to help you get the best possible audio on set. Features such as limiters, timecode generators, phantom power supplies, signal boosters, and more can help you achieve the best possible audio. And once you're done recording, it's time to head into the editing room to clean up your audio and fix any errors. Join me in the next video in our Audio for Video series, where we take a deeper dive into choosing the right microphone. This is AB. Thanks for watching.
Finding the correct look when lighting a subject may seem like a mystery if you don't know the basics. In this video, we're going to go over several lighting kit options and a basic lighting technique called three-point lighting. Hey everyone, I'm Mia. There are lots of choices out there when it comes to light kits, but the very first thing that you'll want to figure out before you purchase a kit is what kind of light you want to work with. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on tungsten, fluorescent, and LED lights, mainly because they're the most popular choices for basic affordable lighting kits. So let's go over the pros and cons of each to help you determine which light is best for you. If you're shooting indoors and working on a tight budget, then a tungsten kit may be the way to go. Tungsten lights are often known as hot lights, mainly because they literally get really hot. If you're working in a tight space, you'll want to be careful that you don't cook your talent and that you don't touch anything close to the bulb without gloves. But tungsten lights are easy to use and they travel well. They tend to be harsher lights though, so adding some heat-resistant diffusion material will soften them up to create light that's a little more forgiving for lighting people. But these lights pull a lot of power from the source, and the bulbs don't last as long as the others that we're featuring. It's a trade-off. That nice low price tag comes with some things that you may want to think about. You can easily find a good tungsten 3-point starter kit for less than $200. The Impact 750-watt tungsten floodlight kit that we have here is a very affordable beginner's kit. It comes with 3 light fixtures, light stands, and 250-watt bulbs. Now these are not very strong bulbs, but if you're just lighting a single subject and don't need to light an entire set, these 3 should work well. It includes several different sized reflectors and an umbrella mount, which will all help you control the direction and quality of the light. Plus, the wooden handles may save your hands from getting burned. Now, fluorescent light works a little differently. Fluorescent lights are often sold in banks, making them ideal for producing a broad swath of light. However, their output is relatively low for such a big bulb. These are easier to work with than tungsten lights, mainly because they remain relatively cool to the touch. Fluorescent lights use less power than the tungsten alternative, and they still give off a nice, soft light perfect for lighting people. You just want to make sure that the bulbs you choose have a high color rendering index, or CRI. A CRI in the 90s means that you'll get a broad spectrum of light reflected back from your subject, so if you white balance your camera correctly, your video should show true colors and nice skin tones. The bulbs come based on color temperature. So if you're looking to create an indoor light, look for 3200K lamps. If you plan to light a subject with daylight conditions, you'll want 5500K bulbs. You'll spend a bit more money on fluorescent lights, and they don't travel as well due to their size and the combustive gases inside the actual bulb, but they will last much longer than your typical tungsten bulbs. For a starter kit, plan to spend somewhere between $400 and $600. Something like this Flow Light 3-point lighting kit is a good starting investment. It comes with 6 3000K warm white fluorescent lights and carrying cases for each light fixture and light stand. The fixtures feature barn doors, which add versatility when it comes to directing the light cast from these broad panels. Finally, now let's talk about LED lights. These are the most expensive, but also the most efficient of the bunch. LED lights often come with a variable color temperature knob or color filters to balance them to the light that you're working in. These lights have a very low power draw, so you don't have to worry about it showing up on your monthly bill. Some models can also be powered by battery, so as long as you're all charged up, you can shoot anywhere. LEDs are also extremely durable and they stay cool, so you don't have to worry about the output burning up your talent or your hands. They travel well and generally weigh less than the alternative fixtures, but here's the best part. They last anywhere from 25,000 to 50,000 hours. So this is an investment that will last years, possibly decades, depending on how often you use them. By comparison, a tungsten light bulb will last roughly 1,000 to 2,000 hours, while fluorescent bulbs last around 8,000 hours. For some beginners, though, an LED light kit is cost prohibitive. But you should be able to get a decent starter kit for well under $1,000. For this demonstration, I have a slightly higher end 3-point lighting kit based on ICANN's 312 LED panels. Each LED fixture has a color temperature knob and a dimming knob, making it the most versatile light that we have on hand today. No extra diffusers or gels are needed. The 3 lights and light stands come in their own carrying case that's easy to transport. Now, once you decide what type of light kit to go with, let's talk about a basic lighting setup. Lighting for an interview is a good place to start, so that's the scenario we'll use. 3-point lighting is a very basic lighting technique. It allows you to illuminate a subject while also controlling the shadows. A basic 3-point lighting kit will get you going, and then you can add lights to your kit as your skills and your pocketbook grow. The 3 kits that we're using all have 3 lights. One will represent a key, one will be a fill, and the third will become your backlight. The key light is usually your strongest, largest light. It provides most of the light that illuminates your subject. If you put the key light directly behind the camera, hitting your subject's face from directly in front, you're going to get a very flat, shadowless look. It's not the most flattering look. So typically, the key light is placed at an angle so that it's illuminating about 3/4 of the subject's face. This will give you a nice base to work with, but as you can see, it does cast a fairly deep shadow on the opposite cheek. To help fill in that shadow, we'll bring in a second light, appropriately called the fill light. Traditionally, the fill light is placed on the opposite side of the camera from the key. I encourage you to play a little bit with the angle and brightness of this light, but choosing an angle that's similar to your key on the opposite side of the camera will provide more even lighting that works well for a basic interview. Also, try playing with the brightness of this light. Clip on a few sheets of heat-resistant diffusion material if your key and fill light have the same wattage output like these tungsten bulbs. This will create what's called a contrast ratio. So a 2-light setup with a 3-to-1 contrast ratio means that your key light is 3 times brighter than your fill, or about 1.5 f-stops. If you're working with LEDs that have brightness dimmers like these eye-cans do, then you can really finesse that contrast ratio to achieve the exact look you want. One other thing to consider as you find the right angle and brightness for your key and fill lights is what height to put the light stands at. In everyday life, we're used to seeing subjects lit from above, but that's often not the most flattering angle of light. It can cast very harsh shadows under the eyes and nose. So bringing the light stand down to just above eye level or slightly higher will still look natural, but create some more direct, pleasing light right on your subject's face. However, you can create certain moods by maybe lighting a subject from below. That's a popular technique in horror films to create a more sinister appearance. Just keep your eye on the shadows cast on your background if you choose to go with one of the more extreme angles. Finally, the last thing to add is the back or hair light. This is a detail light. It's meant to separate your subject from the background by illuminating some detail on the top of their head and shoulders. It's typically placed at about a 45-degree angle above your subject, or overhead and off-center. Clearly, you don't want it directly behind your subject, or it'll be in the shot. Now, you may also want to consider applying a few sheets of heat-resistant diffusion material, a scrim, or having it on a dimmer to control the light output, because this light is often dimmer than the other two. Barn doors, like the ones you'll find on this flow light kit, are a welcome addition because they'll help you direct the light exactly where you want it and keep it from spilling into the camera lens. That's a common challenge when setting up a backlight. One small tip here, try setting up each light individually. So when you set up the key, turn off the other 2 lights. And do the same for the fill and the backlight. This way you can perfect where you want each light to fall on your subject individually. Then, when they're all turned on together, the effect should create the exact look that you want to achieve. Remember, there are no hard, fast rules when it comes to 3-point lighting. Playing with stand height, angles, and brightness is all part of the creative process to help you set the overall mood you want to get across to the viewer. I'm Mia McCormick. Thanks for watching.
For more information, please visit us online, give us a call, or stop by our New York City Superstore. You can also connect with us on the web.